Hey everybody, welcome to Spoiler Piece Theater, the podcast that doesn't give a shit about spoilers. We just want to talk about the movies. My name is Dave Riedel. My pronouns are he, him. I write and talk about movies. And I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association.
My name is Evan Crean. I am co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and co-author of your 80s Movie Guide to Better Living, and my pronouns are he, him.
And my name is Megan Kearns. My pronouns are she, her. I write film reviews for Edge Media Network, and I too am a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association.
Yowza! I thought I'd do an Axl Rose yowza instead of a yeah, you are.
I'm always here for Axl
I
Rose. I love Guns N' Roses. So.
Thank you. I also want to I'm going to give away a little inside baseball there. As I was doing my intro, Evan was pointing at himself like, am I next? You know? So.
Yep.
That's always a thing on the show is like, who goes second? I don't know. So, you know, there you go.
First.
Yeah. There you go, everybody. So this week on the show, we are covering 3 movies: Halftime, Good Luck to You, Leo Grande, and Cha-Cha Real Smooth. But before we get into all that, over on ye old Patreon, this week we have the results of our latest poll. We threw up. That's not a right way. We put up 6 Studio Ghibli movies for patrons to choose from. And they chose Kiki's Delivery Service. And Kiki's Delivery Service, is that what it's called? Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know why. I was just like, no, it's Kiki's Delivery Truck. I don't know what the fuck I'm thinking. Anyway, that was the movie that won. We had a delightful conversation about it. It's over on our Patreon, patreon.com/spoilerpiece. It's available for $5 and up patrons. And first, we want to say thank you, patrons, for being patrons. And if you're not a patron, please consider becoming one. Because if you're a Studio Ghibli fan, this is the audio extra for you.
Yep.
So with all of that good stuff out of the way, let's get to the first movie of the night, the J-Lo documentary. J-Lo, that means Jennifer Lopez. The Jennifer Lopez documentary, Halftime. Here is your one sentence IMDb summary. An intimate look at Jennifer Lopez as she reflects on her milestone and evolution as an artist and navigates the second half of her career, continuing to entertain, empower, and inspire. I would say that is an accurate description of this documentary.
Yeah,
I
think
agree.
a better explanation would be it chronicles a year in her life from her 50th birthday through her performance at the Super Bowl. Hence the title, Halftime.
Yeah.
And to the presidential inauguration.
True. Yes.
Right. They do. Her rendition of, is it America the Beautiful?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what. Yeah. I don't remember what she sings. I was though. I don't know if I've ever heard her voice a cappella like that, and I was like, oh, she can really sing.
Yeah.
So that being said, I like Jennifer. I don't understand. I mean, I can understand, okay, she's not your favorite performer, your favorite actor, whatever, but I don't really understand why people shit on her as much as they do. It's just like, fuck, man, she's more talented than you are. Shut up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can speculate why, and it all boils down to misogyny and racism.
Right. Yeah.
Well, which is a big part of this documentary, too.
Yes, it is.
Correct.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is, which I love.
Yeah, same. My main takeaway from this documentary is something must be wrong with us as a society, if we can make someone as versatile and talented as Jennifer Lopez feel as fucking insecure and down on herself as we find out that she has been over the course of her career. Someone who is just so insanely talented, we've made her just feel like absolute garbage. And I'm just like, it blows my mind. Like, she is so incredibly talented and so versatile, and we've made her feel like trash. And that was one of my main takeaways from this documentary. It made me mad.
I mean, that's a great takeaway. And I think that I love that she reveals that about her feelings, and it is so sad. And I think that in conjunction with what Ben Affleck in the documentary says, because he's in it for like a hot second, and he talks about how, speaking about the media reaction to her, about how she, all the jokes and how she's not good enough and she's not talented, and jokes about her body and everything. And he says, that he had talked to her and said, doesn't that bother you? Aren't you upset? And she's like, I expect it because I'm a Latina woman. You don't expect it because you're a white man. You expect fairness. And I thought that is, it's such a truism. It's such a great line. And that really is a testament to what a scathing condemnation this really is about the entertainment industry, and how ridiculously talented she is as a dancer, as an actress, as a singer. I'm with you, Dave. I've never understood the vitriol she has incurred, because I have loved her as an actress forever. She's an amazing dancer. Her singing is very pleasant. Like, it's not, some of the songs I like.
It's not going to blow your mind.
Yeah, no. But some of the songs are not in my wheelhouse per se, but they're always like super catchy and fun. And I adore her. I'm obsessed with her. I love her. The older she gets, the better she gets, the more I'm into her. And one of my other favorite things about this documentary, and I really enjoyed this documentary tremendously, I love that this really is, so much of it is her reflecting on her life and the fact that she's 50 and she feels she's just getting started, which I think is so cool, because she really is in multiple industries, being in the music and in the film industry. Both industries don't give a shit about older women, and sure as shit don't give a shit about women who are women of color. So I love that she's like, I'm just getting started and there's so much more for me to do. But the other thing I really, really love is that she's like, I've never been political. It's not my thing. And then seeing the racism around the wall and seeing children in cages and all of these disgusting atrocities and human rights violations, she's like, no, you know what? I'm done with that. I'm done not being political. I'm going to be political at the Super Bowl because it's the biggest stage. And I love that. And it really reminded me so much of the Taylor Swift documentary that was on Netflix, and how Taylor Swift was always political, but was always advised, don't be political. Don't speak out. It'll hurt your image. And then she came to a point where she's like, fuck that. I'm going to be political because that's who I am. And I love that for Jennifer Lopez, she does the same thing. Essentially, she's like, you know what? I'm over this. I'm done hiding this. I want to make a difference. I want to make a statement, and I'm going to. And I love that.
Yeah.
And by the way, sorry, I want to say one more thing. I am so upset she did not get nominated for an Oscar for Hustlers, because goddamn, that was the best performance by a supporting actress that year, and she should have been nominated and won.
Yeah, it was an incredible performance. It was such a heartbreak. It broke my heart yet again, hearing how much it really wounded her and just made her upset and made her just feel down, because it did seem like her performance had so much momentum going into the Oscars, and she was getting awards recognition and praise from critics and award, and other awards, and it seemed like she was kind of a shoo-in for at least a nomination, and the fact that she didn't get it was just, it was heartbreaking, but it was also even more heartbreaking hearing her perspective and hearing how much it really hurt her.
Yeah. Yeah, because she's never gotten the respect that she's wanted, and I would say deserved. And I thought, finally Hustlers was, I'm sorry, Dave. I was just going to say, thought finally Hustlers was the time. And no, but please go, Dave.
No, I was going to say, I think her career is, and she's a fascinating individual, and she is really, really talented. I do think that her career has been hit or miss in movies and in music. Because I think that she would probably say, some of the movies I've done are better than others, and some of the songs I've put out are better than others. Like, I know that Jenny on the Block is kind of like a theme song at this point, but it's just so awful. It's just, the melody is just such dog shit. Forget about the lyrics. I can't really comment on that. But the melody is awful. But Love Don't Cost a Thing, that's a great fucking song. Or My Love Don't Cost, whatever it's called. It's a great song. And, I think that people, it's like a lot of performers, but I think, Megan, you're right about the racism and the misogyny. But I think with a lot of performers, when your career is such that you don't necessarily star in a lot of dramas, that you're just not taken as seriously. It's like, Matthew McConaughey, when he was first coming out, he made a big splash in the what's the movie with all the cars and the kids drinking
Dazed
all
and
night?
Confused.
Fuck, I know. What the fuck is wrong with me?
It's like the cars and the kids.
I've seen that movie like 35 times.
All right, Dave.
So there's that, and then there was A Time to Kill, and he was and then he did, like a decade worth of romantic comedies, and everyone's like, fuck Matthew McConaughey. And then he's like, all right, I've had enough of this. Lincoln Lawyer. And then everything pretty much after that's been pretty serious. And so people look at him differently, and I think that for whatever reason, like the big dramatic movie she's been in, like that one with Robert Redford, I think it's called An Unfinished Life, she's really, that's not a great movie, but she's really good in it. It didn't make a big splash. And so I think one of the problems, aside from the racism and misogyny, is like some of the more, in quotes, dramatic stuff she's chosen just hasn't landed.
But that's what's so strange. Reason. That's what's so strange, though, because like she's amazing in Selena. That is a critically acclaimed film. The Cell has gotten, kind of divisive. Some people think it's great, some not so much. But then it's also Out of Sight.
Movie.
Right, exactly. But then Out of Sight, I mean, that is a universally critically acclaimed film
for her and everybody in that movie.
Right. Yeah. And so I think that's what's surprising.
She's fantastic in that movie.
She is. She's so good. And I think that's what's surprising to me. Like, I think you're onto something, Dave, 100%, because comedies and rom-coms definitely get the shaft critically it comes to what should get awards and and is somebody talented. Comedy and horror and other genres are always underappreciated. But I think with her, she has been in a lot of dramatic roles that she's done a great job, and yet she still hasn't gotten it. So I think I think you're right. But then I think it's also like, but wait, what about these other films and roles that she should have gotten more momentum and trajectory from, and she just hasn't?
Yeah. That shit is a mystery. I do want to touch on, though, the documentary itself, because we're talking more about Jennifer Lopez as a person and as a performer. The documentary is definitely a rose-tinted glasses documentary of her. I mean, and it should be. It's like an authorized documentary.
Yeah,
like there's no.
But I mean, it has a narrow focus. I think that's the thing to consider. A lot of people, I've seen a lot of critique of this, saying like, "Oh, it's a light, fluffy kind of look," and it is.
I don't think that's true either.
No, I don't agree with that.
But
at all.
I don't agree with it. I'm saying, what I'm trying to say is, a lot of people are saying that, and I disagree with it. And I disagree with the people
what you were
who
saying.
are like,
I was just interjecting. Sorry.
Yeah, and so to a degree I could understand that. It doesn't delve that deeply into her life and her background. Like, it does a little bit, but I think it has a very narrow focus, and I like that about it. It's basically about a year in her life, and we get some, teases of other parts of her life, but I don't think that's not the goal of the documentary. You know what I mean? Like, I think that needs to be considered when talking about it. It's like, it has a narrow focus, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think when you set out to make a documentary and you say, okay, I'm going to focus on a year in someone's life, it can't be all things to all people, Like,
oh, sure. And I think that, a lot of the criticism it's getting and it's not getting like a ton of criticism. It's, it's basically, if you got a 5-star scale, I would say it's averaging a 3, right? So, but I think the criticism that's been leveled at it, that it's maybe a little surface level or whatever. It's just another thing. Like we've been talking about how I guess maybe people don't pay attention to her dramatic roles or something. Pay attention to her face and her voice when she's speaking in these interview settings. Like, these are things that she feels very deeply about, feels very troubled about, some of them. And she's just got this resolve where it's kind of like she's made up her mind, like, you know what? People are going to treat me like shit, and I just have to keep going on.
Right. Seeing her crying after not getting that Oscar nomination. It's like the movie, this documentary, I think, says more in what it doesn't say than when it does say. That's my outlook on this.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of showing us and not telling us. Like seeing her on the phone and seeing all the stuff that she does to make the Super Bowl halftime show what it is creatively, like her collaboration with Shakira and like all the things that she fights for to make it what it was. And I think it was an incredible halftime show. I feel like the documentary is really showing us all this behind the scenes stuff and how hard she works and how much she thinks about it and how deeply she thinks about it and how much she has to fight for things. Like literally the day before the Super Bowl, they were trying to yank away large parts of this act and what it was trying to say and the political statements it was trying to make. And I love that it still happened because what they didn't show us, and what I feel like probably happened was them saying, we're not going to do it. And she said, fuck you, I'm not showing up to this. And you have to explain tomorrow
That's exactly
why
what happened.
I'm not coming to the Super Bowl.
So, I know. I kind of wish we could have seen that.
Yeah. Find someone to cover in 24 hours or have Shakira do the entire 14 minutes because I'm not coming. I'm sure that's what happened.
Without question. But I love seeing that. I love that we at least see her pushback, and it's like, no, we're not changing anything.
They do show her on that call, and she is visibly angry. So
and rightfully so.
But I think one of the things that other people that people don't consider is if you have she's been famous for what, 25 years, nearly 30 years.
Yes.
I mean, you don't get to be that successful for that. Like, everybody's got, like, the people who are really famous, when you think about them, like, if you're famous for a long time, one thing you have in common with all the other famous people who've been famous for a long time is you're smarter than everybody else, and you know yourself really, really well, you know?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's something that this documentary showcases without hitting you over the head with it. You know, she survived Geely, which is a legitimately bad movie. You know?
That is a great point. I love that she says that one of the things that she has intentionally done is she never wants anyone to know what she's really thinking when she's out in public. And I think that is also in part a testament to her longevity as well. And I mean, because as hard as society and media are on people just in general, in the public spotlight, and women of color and older women, like the more you get, the harder it becomes. I think whenever a woman shows any kind of coming apart in an angry way, a sad way, anything, it's just swarms just descend on that. And I think the fact that she has kept her shit together and she has kept this composure, even if she's crumbling and falling apart inside in reality, I think that has been a testament to her resolve and probably really helped her tremendously. And her ridiculous work ethic, which part of me is like, good for you, that's amazing. But the other part of me is like, damn, hustle culture is so depressing. Like, maybe you need a vacation.
Right.
Maybe just take a
like
step
when her
back.
doctor's like, maybe take a break at some point so you're not sick and having to work through sickness. That was a really sweet scene. But building off what you were just saying, Megan, she is so composed, and it's just like, it boggles my mind, and it goes back to what I was saying earlier about like, how terrible are we as a society? It's like, we're so hard on women, of course, like in the public spotlight, and we've been really hard on people like Britney Spears and Lindsay Lohan, and like people who have had some element of controversy in what's going on, whether it's justified or not. Like, they hone in on that, and like the paparazzi like zone in on that and blow it out into all this bullshit. And it's like, Jennifer Lopez like does not have that, but they still managed to manufacture all of that to like latch on to. Instead, they're like, oh, look at our relationships. Let's just latch on to everybody she's dated, and like, let's seize on that, and let's make this all about her fucking dating life. It's like, what? Why? What are we doing? Like, we've created this terrible dynamic where we're just zoning in on her private life for no fucking reason and making her just feel like shit.
Yeah. I used to think that, celebrities really didn't deserve the modicum of privacy that they do have, but I've come around to think that, maybe they deserve more than regular people.
Right?
Because like,
yeah,
it's like, yes, they've made a choice to be in the public eye, but they haven't really, but it's not like, I don't think anybody, unless you're a super narcissist, anybody who becomes fucking hugely famous really understands exactly what they're in for. Like, you see every interview with somebody after their first big movie and they're like, this is weird. This is fucking weird, man, Yeah. So, and I think that there's, you adapt or you don't. And she's adapted because she's smarter than most people.
100%.
Yeah, I also think that that's one of the things that kind of needs to be said. You know, like, and I said it earlier. So like, whatever, she's smarter than you, not you two specifically, but she's smarter than you. You know,
yes, she's smarter and more talented.
Yeah,
yes, but I think it's so sad. I think you're right. I think you're both right, but I think it's also so sad that any celebrity has to adapt or proverbially die because of the lack of privacy due to media and the paparazzi. Like there still should be boundaries. There still should be privacy. And you know, just because you want to be in the entertainment industry and just because you want to be famous, that doesn't mean you sign away your life and all of your boundaries and consent and everything. And so, yeah, it's awful to see. And it's not a surprise, especially, you know, if you've been following her career for the past 25 years. Yeah. I mean, it's just so sad. On the bright side, she is a delight. She is ridiculously talented. I always love seeing her. I just wish she got more. I'm so glad that people do adore her. I just wish she got more accolades, like more critical acclaim, because I think she's really great.
Final thoughts, gang?
I thought this was great. I really enjoyed this documentary tremendously.
Yeah.
Same.
I'll have you all know that Ted hated it.
Wait,
I
what?
watched it.
Oh, Ted.
Ted, yeah, my 3-year-old. I was watching it this afternoon, and I was watching it with I didn't know what the language would be like, and you know, he's 3, so he repeats a lot of things he hears. So I was listening to it with one AirPod in my ear and like playing with him in the other one. And he's like, I don't want to watch this. I'm like, why not? He's like, it's too bright. Like when all the dance numbers were on, it's too bright.
Yeah, it is bright.
So,
yeah.
Anyway, so Ted wasn't a fan, but oh well.
Oh well. Ted.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, go
I
ahead,
do like
Megan.
that I was just going to say, I do really like that, like we've been saying, I think this does reveal a lot more depth than it does initially seem on the surface. And that's one of the things I loved so much about it.
Yeah. And I think if anyone is out there doubting her bona fides, just stick around for the posts or the credit title cards just to see all of her accomplishments. When they lay it out in front of you, you're like, holy shit, has she accomplished so much stuff. Like, how dare we sit here and try and claim, I mean, not we, the show, but like we as a people try and, you know, disrespect her and say, oh, you know, and poo-poo the work she's done. Because holy shit, has she accomplished a lot.
Yeah. Don't be fooled by the rocks that she's got, you know? I
mean, she's still Jenny from the block, but
okay. And on that note, me making fun of a song of hers that I don't like, which I said at the beginning, whoops. Next on our list, we have the new Emma Thompson movie, Good Luck to You, Leo Grande, directed by Sophie Hyde, written by Katie Brandt, starring Emma Thompson and Daryl McCormack, who I'd never seen Daryl McCormack before. I don't know if this is one of his first roles or what, but here's your IMDb summary. I almost forgot to give it. Nancy Stokes, a 55-year-old widow, is yearning for some adventure, human connection, and some sex. Some good sex.
Yes.
True.
Yes, that's all true. This is basically a 2-character drama comedy. So I mean, more drama than comedy, but it does have funny moments. About, just like it says, Nancy's 55, her husband's dead, she wants to do some boning, so she hires a
boning. It makes me laugh.
Well, I mean, let's just, you know, call it what it is.
Lay it on the line. She's never had an orgasm.
She's never had an orgasm, as she tells Leo, the sex worker she hires. One of the things the movie is very careful to do is to call him a sex worker and not other things that could be derogatory.
Which I love.
Yeah. And it's this very uncomfortable / funny / dramatic 90 or so minutes about this woman discovering who she is for herself after, you know, having lived her life in a very particular way, because that's what, you know, your stiff upper lip English person does. I guess that's kind of the, you know, the underlying
and many women in general.
Well, yes. But I'm just hanging on to the English thing because I like the whole, like, keep your pecker up, you know, thing. Yeah. So
Well,
That is a phrase
yes,
in England.
it is. It is, and it's definitely an English thing, but it's also very particular to this character. The fact that she was a religion teacher
Yes.
in a private school and had the very kind of narrow view of sex and sexuality that she was really kind of at first forced to teach, and then it seemed like it kind of just became part of her. Like she ingrained a lot of the things that she was supposed to teach and kind of like became part of her life and part of her own view on sex. And so part of this movie is like her untangling that and like
Yeah.
kind of like deprogramming herself.
Yes.
As if she was in a non-sex cult for most of her life.
Yeah, basically.
I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of society is very slut-shamey and very puritanical. So
Yeah, well, the
about
way she
women's pleasure, so not a surprise.
Yeah, well, the way she describes like her sex life with her husband, it's just like, oh, you poor woman.
Yeah, that sounds like
Jesus.
a nightmare.
It's
Good
depressing,
Lord.
to say the least.
Yeah. Oh, for fucking sure. I mean,
Yeah.
I won't get into the details mostly because I can't remember them, but basically it's like he'd, kind of tap her on the shoulder, roll over on top of her, do his thing, and then be done with it. And she was like, okay,
Yep.
great,
Yep.
And I think she says that he was the only person she'd ever been with up until Leo, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Mhm.
I mean, the whole never having had an orgasm thing makes a lot more sense if the person you're fucking your entire life is an idiot. So,
Yes, but I think it's still extremely surprising that she never had an orgasm from masturbation. Like that
Well,
is
that's true.
super
Right.
surprising to me.
that's true.
Yeah. And it seemed like when we find out in her backstory that she had an encounter that wasn't, full on sex, but like,
Right.
she
Still
had that
sex,
encounter
I
when
would
she was
say.
younger. Yeah.
Certainly got her hot, and
Right.
then
Yeah.
she was somebody
And it's sad
like a
to
car
think.
turned on in the distance, and she was like, "Ugh."
Yes.
Yeah, but it's like an experience from her teenage years, and that's like the moment she felt most alive from sex, and you're like, oh my god, oh
know.
wow, oh shit, I
Yeah.
can't imagine like feeling that way. That like that was like a peak of sorts, and like
Right?
it never got better than that. And now here
Yeah.
we are, like 30 years later. Holy shit, or more. I don't.
More.
It's not
she
even
said
clear.
she was
More.
17, so almost
Yeah.
40 years.
Like,
So
woof. Woof.
Yeah, the idea of
Yeah.
not having good sex in 40 years, like that's just Jesus. That is awful.
I'm not even going to
Mhm.
make jokes about it. It's so horrible. So
No, it's just sad.
yeah,
It is seriously really sad. But that's
Mhm.
what I love about this film. I love that it's having these really honest conversations, these raw conversations between the two of them. And I love that Leo is so consensual and he's constantly asking her, like, what do you want? Is this okay? And
I noticed that
not a-
too.
yeah, and it's great. I mean, it's not a surprise because he's a sex worker, but it is still lovely to see. And it's clearly something she's never experienced because her husband would just climb on top of her. So
Right.
she's never had anyone focus on what she wants and is this touch okay? And I love that.
Mhm.
And I love that she's like, she starts off being very regimented, like, okay, these are the sex acts I have on my list. Let's do it. We're
Yep.
going to do oral. We're going to do a blowjob. We're going to,
Right.
and she just wants to go
69, like
69. I'm going to be on top
That's
of
right.
you. Like,
69. Did they still call it that? Yes.
I loved that,
That
by the
line
way. I
cracked
thought that
me
was
up.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that she's like very regimented about it. Like, okay, we're going to do it, this to-do list. But as the film goes on, she kind of softens. And I hate even saying that term, softens. But she lets go a bit more. And I love that
There you
because she
go.
becomes, thank you. She becomes more in tune with her body and her pleasure and that there's nothing shameful about it. And it's just, I've seen so many descriptors of this film as sex positive, and it absolutely is so sex
Peak.
positive,
Peak
so
sex
positive about
positive.
sex work, so positive about consent, so positive about older women's bodies. And I love that one of the final scenes is Emma Thompson naked. Good for you, Emma Thompson. I loved that.
Yeah. Talk about like, wow. I wouldn't do that at my age. So, I mean, I don't look very good. So
oh.
sorry. For those of you who've never seen a picture of me, go to Instagram.com/Dave Sees Movies and you can look at my avatar and there it is. But I'm sorry, Evan, it sounds like you were about to say
Like,
something and I
was like, I
totally
don't know how to
took us
follow
off
that
the
up.
rails.
I'm sad that you feel that way, Dave.
I know. I think you derailed this.
I hope we're a supportive environment here. We don't make you feel that way.
No, you
Right?
two don't. No.
Okay, good. Jesus.
But
No. You two make me feel like I'm floating on a cloud. So
Yay!
I adored this movie. I really enjoyed it on like intellectual level. I enjoyed the conversations that these two characters were having, how deep they go with each other. I respect the fact that it's a movie about people having sex and they like wait until like the last real meetup to really get into like the real graphics sex. They're kind of like, it's more about like the emotional stuff beforehand, and then at the end they're kind of like, all right, we're just gonna go all out now. We're just gonna include all the nudity and all the like stuff, but it's smart in the way that I think it builds to that. And I love Leo's character, and
you might say it's the climax.
Yes.
Oh, but I'm bumped. Dave, how long were you waiting for that one?
I waited about 8 seconds. I was just like, should I say it or not say it?
Yep.
Say
And then I was
it.
like, ah, fuck it. Evan would say it.
It belongs in this conversation. And
Yeah.
I love that he is, you mentioned before, Megan, that he's all about consent, but I think it runs deeper than that he has this kind of like emotional intelligence, that it's not just
Yes.
like the
Yes.
line of work that he does. I think he is uniquely suited to it, and that he can kind of like read people on a deeper level and engage with them and know what the right things to say and do based on the situation. And I feel like he's reading into a lot of situations and trying to like not coax her into doing things, because that's the wrong word to use, but it's like making her feel comfortable in a way.
Yeah.
And to know when she's sitting there and doing things where she's kind of like overthinking things, and making her feel comfortable and giving her the space to not shame herself or kind of like overthink things. Anyway.
No, I agree with you, but I also think what's really interesting about Leo is it's very clear that he cares about, when I say consent, I don't just mean consent like on a sexual level or even a physical level. Like there's definitely a level of consent, because when she reveals to him that she has Googled him and she's found out his real identity, he like visibly changes, his body language changes, he loses it, rightfully so, because she has breached a boundary that he has laid
invasive.
out. Oh my God, it's awful. It's so horrible. And
when she revealed that she had done that, I was just like 3, 2, 1.
Yep.
And then boom, the rocket went off, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh man.
And as it should have, because that's just so terrible.
Yeah. It surprised me in a way that I was like, I wasn't sure. I knew there was some conflict coming along, but I didn't necessarily think it was her breaking the boundaries of their relationship in that way. And so when that happened, I was like, whoa, oh boy.
Yeah.
Yep, that's really, oh my God, why did she do that?
Yeah.
Oh boy, why did she do that? Ooh, this is unforgivable. I don't know how this is going to play out, but this is not good.
Oh, so bad.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, first of all, the other thing I wanted to say really quickly, Daryl McCormick, who plays Leo Grande, assumed name, whoever this guy is, I've never seen him before. He's amazing.
Yeah.
He's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Like to be able to go toe to toe with Emma Thompson and not look like you're struggling, I'm sure is difficult, especially in a 2-person, in a 2-character movie. And he's great. And one of the things that, when we were talking about consent and different forms of consent, but I was thinking about how I think this was in the 90s, and you both may know about this, how I think it was Antioch College was like, all right, all students, for any sexual act of any kind, you must ask for permission, whether it's like holding hands, kissing, whatever. And I remember people being like, this is fucking crazy. And I was like, I don't really see what's crazy about it. I mean, it's like,
there's nothing crazy about it.
Like, I'm sure that everybody has been in a situation where they're like, fucking don't kiss me. What the fuck is wrong with you? You know?
Yep. 100%.
Like everybody has had to have had that experience, you know? So, I was just kind of, surprised pleasantly by the fact that like the first thing he said after he introduced himself was, "May I kiss you on the cheek?" you know?
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it.
And I was just like, all right, so this is this kind of guy. And for some reason, I also knew that there wasn't going to be some table turning where he turned out to be some like asshole.
Dirtbag.
Yeah. So that was a nice bit of predictability, but I think not because the screenplay let me down, but because it was a good character moment to know this is the kind of person he is, you know?
Right.
And also, as you learn from his backstory, and this is kind of unfortunate backstory for a couple of reasons. I think part of the reason he believes in consent so much is because his mother disowned him for being sexually fluid. I don't know how you would describe, is that something?
Yeah, it's kind of implied. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think.
I think it's pretty, I was going to say, I actually think it's pretty obvious that he's like pansexual or fluid. Yeah.
Right. And I just, I don't know what the correct term is, so I don't want to, use the wrong one.
He might not label himself. You know what I mean? Like,
true,
so,
right,
yeah.
true.
He might not want to label himself.
He says, it was after exams. We'd all had a bit to drink, and we were all, I think he says something like we were all kind of tangled up together. Isn't that what he says?
Yes.
Or we were all, yeah. And it's like, and I just took that to mean that like everybody was there doing their thing. And mom
100%.
discovered them. And I think the one thing, and it didn't bum me out, but I did find it be like, all right, so he did have like this horribly, for lack of a better term, close-minded mother who disowned him. And I just thought, I think it actually might have been a better turn if he was just a guy who grew up in a household where none of that happened. It was just like he had two parents or one parent, whatever, however many parents who just thought he was the greatest thing ever, and he's also a sex worker,
I 100% agree with you.
Man, I am fucking killing it on the Megan scale tonight.
You're on fire.
I mean, I think I agree with that. I think that would have been an interesting turn. At the same time, though, I totally understand like the dynamics of this character being being an Irish person from an Irish Catholic family where someone who's Catholic, I can say Catholics have, not currently Catholic, lapsed Catholic, but like, being raised Catholic, there's a very like stunted view of sex and sexuality. And so it's like, I could see it. And I think that is the case for, lots of people who are queer are, come from families that kick them out, disown them. So I think there's value in telling that story, but I agree with you that I think it would have been maybe a little bit more interesting if he came from a sex positive family.
Yeah. Or at least not a sex negative family.
Right. Like
sex
Evan,
neutral.
Yeah.
Evan,
we're neutral about sex.
Evan, I actually totally agree with you too, because I also was raised in an Irish Catholic household. I'm a queer person. I did not come out at a young age for that reason. So I agree with you. And I think it is a really important story to tell. I think where my problem is with that and why I agree more with Dave's perspective and why I wish it hadn't been in this story in the way it was told is because it is such a trope that sex workers come from broken homes or that they've got some kind of trauma or some kind of abuse or neglect or something like that. I mean, Emma Thompson's character is even assuming that right out of the gate. And he's like, no, I'm happy doing this and I love my work. Like, so I think that's where the frustration is. Not that story shouldn't be told or not that, they couldn't have explored, the queer phobia or anything like that, but just the fact that it is such a trope for sex workers. So I'm not even like mad at it. I'm just like, ooh, it is just playing into that trope. It might have been nicer.
Really.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm not like, I still love the movie the way it is, but I'm just like, oh, it would have been more interesting if they'd gone a different way.
But it does make the correct choice, though, that he does this job because he likes it, not because he's, damaged in some way.
Right. Or hard up for money. It's like he enjoys it. It's not any of those like gross tropes. But I do think it makes sense that she kind of can't get that like around her head and has to like dwell on it. And that's why she pries into his personal life, is because she feels like he needs some kind of saving.
Yeah.
Ew, you're so right. And it's so creepy gross. And
yeah,
she means well, but it's like icky.
Yeah, she means well. It's an uncomfortable part of the movie, but it also makes sense why she would try and kind of pry into his personal real life and then realize how absolutely wrong that is.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank God she does realize that.
And then into a rather contrived moment in the fourth time they meet, run into one of her former students and apologize to her for calling her entire class a bunch of sluts.
Yes.
Which, good that you would make such an apology, but did we need to shoehorn this in? I don't know.
No, I think Emma Thompson is just so effortlessly great that she makes it work. But yeah,
I think you're right.
Yeah, but I agree with
Yeah.
you. It was not necessary. But yeah, but oh my God. These two, and Dave, you brought it up earlier about how he's so good playing opposite Emma Thompson, and they are so good together.
They really
Just
are.
Really good. They have such great banter and chemistry. I love them together. I just kind of wanted to hang out with them more.
Same.
Yeah.
They're a lot of fun. I was reading
Yeah.
an interview, I think it was in Variety with Daryl McCormick, and he was talking about how when they were like getting ready to do this movie that him, Emma Thompson, and the director of the film, Sophie Hyde, sat down, the three of them, and basically like sat in a circle and like talked about sex and sexuality, and basically were like playing almost a kind of game of like strip poker where they were like all removing their clothes and like talking and getting comfortable with each other, to the point where they're all sitting around each other like completely naked.
I love
Which I was like,
this.
damn, like
You're going
that's
to be
really
naked
putting
on
your money.
screen, why not?
Right?
Yeah.
Might as well be naked in rehearsal.
Yeah, putting your money where your mouth is as a director. I think that's definitely a brave choice.
Yeah. I can't
love
remember
that.
who else it is. There's some other director who did that. There were a couple of performers who were nervous about doing a nude scene. He was like, "Yeah, I'll be naked here while we're shooting it. Don't worry."
Oh yeah, you're right.
I don't remember who that
either.
is or what movie it is, but I know I've heard that story.
I
And the
have too.
performers were like-
not that long ago.
Yeah, we're like, "Oh, good, someone else will be naked. Thank God."
Yeah, I just also I really love that, and I love that this is a film that's written by a woman, that is directed by a woman, and I'm so glad that you shared that, Evan, that interview, and I love that was kind of the methodology to get them all
Right.
comfortable, because I think what this film does so exceptionally well, in addition to all the things we've been talking about, a smart script, great acting, consent, sex work, being sex positive, all of those things. I love that it's so focused on an older woman's sexuality, because so often we don't get older women as protagonists on screen. And when we do get them, they are sexless. They are not sexy. They do not have sex lives. I mean, that is still why Golden Girls is so revolutionary and so amazing, 35 years later, because it was all women who had active sex lives who were older. And so it's really refreshing and so great to see that here. And I love one of the first interactions when he calls Nigella Lawson sexy, and he doesn't give a qualifier for the fact that she's sexy for an older woman. He's just like, no, she's sexy, because Nigella Lawson is sexy. Yes,
She is
empirically
sexy. She's very
Nigella
sexy.
Lawson is very sexy and always has been.
Yeah.
Right. And by the way, I have to say, I never objectify women on the show. It's something I don't like doing, but I will say, I am looking at Emma Thompson in a whole new way. I'm just saying. I mean, I was like, damn, her body is great.
Hey-o.
Yeah, I mean the places they go in this movie, literally and figuratively.
Right?
Yeah.
But I just love that. I love the focus on an older woman's sexuality. Back to the original point.
Yeah. Well, anybody have closing thoughts on Good Luck to You, Leo Grande? I think it should have been Grande, but
like the Rio. Actually, no, it's the Rio
Exactly.
Grande. I don't know what I'm talking about.
No,
Or it
like
is
the
Rio Grande.
Starbucks order.
yeah.
Oh, a Grande. There you go.
Leo
I
Venti, maybe. I don't
Right?
know.
There you go. I adored this. This made me laugh. This made me cry. I thought this was wonderful.
Yeah, really great.
Okay. Well, I think we're all in agreement there. Yay! Kermit, clap. All right. Last movie
Evan's got
of
the
the
Kermit
night.
arms.
Last movie of the night, Cha Cha Real Smooth, which, yes, is named after the Cha Cha Slide song. Here's your one sentence
Dance.
IMDb. This is written and directed by Cooper Rafe. I'm assuming it's pronounced Rafe or Raif. I don't know.
Rafe, yeah, I think so.
Rafe, thank you. A young man who works as a bar mitzvah party host strikes up a friendship with a mother and her autistic daughter. Yes. It's
That
a
is
little more
correct.
complicated than that.
Yes.
It's a lot more complicated than that.
Yeah. Well, I've seen this movie now twice because I saw it during the Sundance Film Festival, and then I watched it last night before. I don't remember when I watched it. I watched it within the last couple of days. And
Ditto.
I have done a lot of talking first tonight. So if one of you wants to take the lead on Cha-Cha Real Smooth, I think I'd be interested to hear what you have to say. Also you, Evan, but you, Megan, because you really wanted to see this week, if I recall.
I did. So I also saw this at Sundance, but I saw this a little later than you, Dave. I think like a week later or a few days later when I was catching up with a lot of films. So I almost didn't see this at Sundance. And you had talked about it so highly and I'd heard such great things. And I was like, fuck, I love Dakota Johnson. Why not? And I adored it. And so I wanted to watch it again. And I watched it again right before recording. And I was a weeping, sobbing disaster mess because this movie destroyed me the first time, destroyed me the second time. Oh my God, the feels.
Yeah. So I don't even like that phrase and I used it.
No, but it is perfect. It is perfect because this movie is poignant. It is sweet, it is tender, it is gutting, it is hilarious, it's awkward, it's all of the things. Cooper Raiff is so good. He is so good as an actor in this.
He's so good in this.
So good.
I wonder
He's
if
so
this
good.
is. I was watching this again and thinking, is he a great actor or is he just like this? I mean, because that performance is so naturalistic.
Right.
It's like I've never seen him in anything else. I know he's made one other movie, but like.
But even if that is who he is as a person, the fact that he can harness that and display it on screen in such a naturalistic way, that's such a talent and skill too. So either way, he's great, even if this is really who he is as a person.
So much charisma.
Yeah, so much charisma. And I love Dakota Johnson is just quickly becoming one of my favorite performers to see in things because she's such a surprise, such a delight.
She's one of those rare scions of very famous people who is more talented than both of her parents, you know?
Well,
it's
yes.
I would say. I mean, I think that Melanie Griffith and Don Johnson both have their own strengths, but I think she has all of their strengths and her own.
I agree. You know? I agree. No, you're totally right on that. But yeah, and I love the writing of this. And I also love Vanessa Burkhart, who it's wonderful to see a character who's complex, who is on the autism spectrum. And she is an actress who is on the autism spectrum. And that's so great. She is. And that was really, really important to Cooper Raiff and the casting director. I read an interview with the casting director who talked about they saw hundreds and hundreds of tapes of actors on the audition spectrum. So the fact that people, when they talk about like, oh, there are no actors, it's a crock of shit. There are tons. You just have to do the work to find them. And what she did was she contacted a lot of theater troupes that work with autistic people. And that was how they got Vanessa Burkhart. And she was one of the first people they saw. And Cooper Raiff was like, that's her. She's Lola.
She's fantastic.
And I love that. And I love that he also worked with an organization that works with autistic people because he wanted to get the small details right. And there's so much respect that goes into that. And I love that. It's just, I think that just makes this film even better. And I could just go on and on gushing because I absolutely adore this film so much. But I want to hear what you have to say, Evan.
I loved this movie. I had been looking forward to seeing it just because of so many Sundance raves, and then also because both of you had seen it and said that you had really liked it. It's funny because this week on the show ended up being this kind of like interesting week where we have these two movies about these like very sensitive men who are not like the typical like portrayal of like masculinity. And so I actually really enjoyed that between Good Luck to You, Leo Grande, in this movie. And you were touching on Cooper Raiff before and talking about like, well, if this is him, I think it's brave to put that out on screen if this is how he is. Yeah. Because he's a very sensitive, his character is a very sensitive, thoughtful, kind, funny person. Like his
not
worst
without
quality,
his own problems, of course.
Yeah, his worst quality is that he gives his like stepdad a lot of shit. Which, and frankly, if I was in that position and I thought the guy that my mom was with was a dick, I might also be a dick. Even though both of you know that I'm generally not a dick in life.
You're not a dick at all.
You're one of the kinder people I've ever met.
So I know. I often describe you as gentle, Evan.
Shucks.
And that's a compliment.
But yeah, so maybe for me, a lot of it was feeling like I identified with this character because, like I said, he's not the typical portrait of masculinity that you see in these kinds of movies. So I liked that a lot. I think his performance was really great. I agree that the actress that played Lola was just fantastic. Mm-hmm. So much of the time on screen when Hollywood is portraying autism, they go for the like either things that are just straight up wrong about autism, or they go for like the low hanging fruit where it's like, oh, they're nonverbal and this and that. And it's like, it's nice to see a portrayal of autism that feels like it's kind of like authentic. And it's like, you know what I mean? It's like keying in on the things that like, it's not someone who's nonverbal or that, you know what I mean? Like she's a character, she's a person, she can relate to people and talk to them. And like, you can see in ways that it's like, she has a very direct mode of communication. And like, he's able to kind of like adjust to that. You know what I mean? Like there's that moment where he goes, oh, ouch, Lola, that was brutal. And she's like, I did not mean to be brutal.
I love that. She's so sweet.
And it's like, she didn't really mean to be. She just has a very direct mode of communication. And that just takes some time for certain people to adapt to. And I love that his character, and then by transference to his brother, is looking out for her and doesn't want her to be bullied and is standing up for her at multiple points in the movie, even to the point where it's like he's getting in trouble with other adults and like getting kicked out of things. Like when he gets kicked out of that first bar mitzvah, he's supposed to be the hype man for
work, which is kind of a problem.
Yeah.
Well, he does, but that kid is also a shithead, and I love that he's like, your kid's being a jerk.
Fucking horrible. And I'm glad that Brad Garrett punches that kid's dad.
Yeah. I'm never cheering for that, but I was cheering for that.
Yeah.
It's like, good job, Brad Garrett.
Well, I also like the idea that even though Andrew, which is Cooper Raif's character's name, doesn't like or just kind of shits on Brad Garrett just because, gives him in the screenplay an opportunity to show what kind of person he actually is by defending Andrew's mother, because Andrew makes it very clear that he is a big fan of his mother.
Yes.
We haven't really talked about the plot of this so much, which maybe we should.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we might want to dig into it.
Andrew is a recent college grad. His girlfriend or ex-girlfriend has gone to Barcelona to be a Fulbright. She's gotten a Fulbright scholarship. Is that it?
Yep.
I think that's right. Yeah.
So he's trying to earn money to go there because he thinks that he's still going to be a big part of her life, which is just not happening based on her Instagram feed. And so he gets a terrible job at a fast food stand in a mall called Meat Sticks, which I wish that were a real place, because I would love to walk past a restaurant called Meat Sticks because it's so fucking outrageous. But then he gets this side gig being, like it says in the description, actually, I don't remember what it is. Like he gets people on the dance floor at bar and bat mitzvahs. I'm assuming bat mitzvahs also, although we only see bar mitzvahs.
B'nai mitzvot is a better pluralization that captures both bar and bat mitzvahs.
Thank you, Evan.
Mitzvahs, both bar and bat. Yeah. Sorry, that's Alec Baldwin in Friends. So,
that's right.
Yeah. I just sidetracked myself. Oh my God. So what happens is Dakota Johnson is a mother of Lola, who's on the spectrum, and Andrew just sees this kid and sort of starts defending her just because he doesn't like to see people get bullied, you know? And he and Dakota Johnson kind of fall in love in a very innocent, almost inappropriate. Well, it's inappropriate, but like,
I mean, she does kiss him.
She does, but you know what though? Like, it's not icky. It's not like The Graduate, you know?
I just meant icky because she's engaged to someone else.
Right,
So infidelitous, but not icky because like she's so much older.
Right. And she's,
so I agree with you on that.
I think that her character is supposed to be a little bit older than Dakota Johnson actually is, but probably not much, because she says multiple times that she had Lola when she was very young. And I'm thinking young, like 19. That's what I'm thinking. And if Lola is 13...
She's like early 30s. Yeah.
And so they have Andrew and Domino is Dakota Johnson's name. But he's, very kind to her, and he sort of is lost and trying to figure out what he's doing. And I also like that in this screenplay, he's lost in a way that's not stupid. It's not like he's Seth Rogen in Knocked Up, who's a guy who just like lives in a house with the guys and smokes pot and exactly. He's like just out of college. His girlfriend's broken his heart. He's not really sure what to do with himself. And so he's moving home and he's not just like sitting around. He's got not one, but 2 jobs. He does have a little bit of a drinking problem, maybe. Or at least he drinks at the wrong time.
Yes, definitely.
Maybe more than anything. And the whole thing just unfolds kind of how you would expect it to, but also in a very naturalistic way. And all of the emotions feel earned. And partly because all of the performances in this movie is strong. And I think what makes this movie especially great is Dakota Johnson's fiance, his character's name is Joseph, right?
Yes.
You get the feeling that he's going to be this total fucking asshole. And he's borderline, but
he's
at the same time,
dick,
but he's
so
not
much.
like mean or threatening.
No.
You think that maybe he's going to be, but he ends up, he sees Andrew for what he is.
Yep.
Not as a homewrecker, not as whatever, just as a confused kid.
Yep.
And
it's very clear he knows he's in love with Domino, and and it's just and lovely to him.
And he's just like, this is just what this kid's going through, and he saved my future stepdaughter from getting her ass handed to her at this party, and so this kid deserves a break, And I really like that, because that could have just been. I don't know if Cooper Raiff is ever going to write another good screenplay or not. I hope so. But if he doesn't, I mean, this one's kind of got, it just wins on every level, So, and also I want to give some praise to Leslie Mann for playing a very un-Leslie Mann role. Because
she's great in this.
She's so great. And I feel like, I know she's been in lots of other movies other than Judd Apatow movies, but I feel like that's what she mostly is known for these days.
Right.
And she's so great in this movie,
She is. Surprisingly so. It was a really nice surprise to see how good she could be here. Yeah. And just to back up slightly, because you were talking about Joseph, Raul Castillo is such a great actor, and he is. I think he plays this so perfectly. Because you're right, he could have been. I was ready. I was prepared, because it's such a trope. Like, oh, he's going to be the total asshole, so then it's going to be okay that Domino cheats on him, with Andrew. And nope, he's like, thank you for protecting my family, and he's so gracious and just lovely, and I just love it. And I love that all the characters are so complicated. Like, Domino wants to be with Joseph. She loves Joseph, but she also is really lamenting the loss of her youth. And that's what Andrew reminds her of. And so she wants to be spontaneous and wild with him because he makes her feel that way. But then she's like, that's not real life. That's just my fantasy. And I love that she tells him, like, no, you're 22. You need to be in your 20s. You need to live your 20s. And it's so sad, but it's so true. And
it's really
love
sad,
It's so sad because I love
it's a
that
great
Andrew's
gift
like,
she gives him if you think about it.
I know, but it's so sad because she's like, especially when they're talking about soulmates, and he's like, I know I'm your soulmate, but I also know Joseph is too. And I was like, it's just so good.
And then he spends the next scene crying, sobbing in the car, and you're like, totally earned. Totally
earned. But I love that, because I also love the notion that this film is reifying that you can have more than one soulmate, that you can have these.
Oh, for sure.
I love, Dave, that you said that they fall in love, because they do. It's very clear that they do. They have this really amazing connection, but it's just not meant to be, and that's okay. And it doesn't mean it's any less special or any less meaningful for either of them. And I adore that. And not enough films do that. And I just think this is a really special film because it does do that.
For sure. Yeah, this is definitely going to go in my repeat playlist. Although it does make me cry a lot, which
oh my God, yes.
is not, well, when you think about it, yes, Andrews doesn't know what he wants to do with his life. And hey, man, I'm not going to tell you how old I am on the show, although I think I have before.
I think you have.
But if I told you I know what I was going to do with my life, I mean, you got to be kidding me. Without getting into the details, listeners, the state of transition that I am in, Jesus fuck, so I really identify with Andrew, that's all I'm saying.
I do love that he continuously throughout this film puts his heart on his sleeve and just lays it all out on the
Yeah.
line constantly.
I mean, from the
I
opening
love that.
scene when he's at a bar mitzvah when he's a kid and he wants to tell the woman who's been working at the bar mitzvah that he's into her and wants to go on a date with her. It's just,
And he
you
sees
get-
her having a phone conversation where she's crying, and then she goes
Yeah.
back and like is the party starter. I think that's one of the reasons he likes her so much, is because he's like, this is a woman who's like, I think he likes complicated people. I think that's the message.
Yes.
That's the message I got. So,
Mhm.
And
Evan,
older
I
women.
think I interrupted
which is
you.
Very
I'm sorry.
nice.
No, I agree. I think it's a combination of he likes complicated people. He likes older women, clearly.
Mhm.
And he's a
Yeah.
romantic. He is. He's a romantic guy. He
Yes.
wants
Yes.
love and he wants a relationship. And just going back to what I was saying earlier, it's like you don't see that enough in film. Like sensitive men who are like, I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I'm like, not like I want to get laid, but like I want you know what I mean? I want
Yeah.
romance,
I
and
want
I want a
romance.
relationship.
Yes.
Not
Right.
just like I want to.
Right. He is
I mean-
ready to commit to her
Right.
and to be a stepfather to Lola. Like, he's in. Like,
yeah, he
Right.
loves Lola too. As
Yes.
like, we should mention that too. Like, he's genuine affection, and
yes.
I mean, he's that way with pretty much everyone. But it could be creepy, but it's not. That's the other thing that's also interesting about this. In the
Mhm.
wrong hands,
Oh, yeah.
this role could be, he could just be creepy. But in Cooper Raife's
I
hands,
can think of a scene in particular that could have been
Which
way
one?
creepier. The scene where Lola asks him to scratch her back
Scratch
because
her
it's
back?
something that
Yeah.
only her
Yeah.
mom does, and she doesn't feel comfortable with people doing it, but she feels comfortable with him and asks her to scratch her back. That could
Yeah.
have been a very creepy scene in someone else's hands. And honestly, it felt to me just a little bit uncomfortable, but
sure.
Really? Oh,
Yeah, a
interesting.
little
I
bit.
didn't see it that way at all. Interesting.
I think it's just because
I-
it was
Huh.
kind of a long, slow scene, and I was just kind of like, okay, I'm kind of sitting here in this.
It was also a big decision for Lola, you know?
That is
So-
a big decision. Yeah. I
Mhm.
saw it more as just a caregiver role, and I thought that was so lovely. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
That's so
think-
interesting.
I think with me, it was more like, because I'm used to those scenes becoming creepy, I think that's
That
what I
is
was
fair.
worried about more than
Yeah.
anything.
That's totally fair.
Mhm.
I did like it, though, how she gave him very specific instructions. She's like, hold your
Yes.
hand like this, not like this, and scratch side to side, not up and down. He's like, okay, got it. You can do
Yeah.
more pressure, please. Okay. You know? And then the next scene, you know, he's on the, you know, sofa looking at Instagram, looking,
Right.
you know, so whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Cha Cha Real Smooth. By the way, great title for a movie.
I love the
Even
title.
if that song didn't exist.
For sure.
It's such a catchy, memorable title.
I was kind of surprised in a movie that's about someone who becomes a hype person at bar and bat mitzvahs that it was not more explicitly Jewish. Like his family is clearly Jewish or other Jewish families in the town, but it doesn't really have any other themes or characters that kind of tie into that. Like Dakota Johnson says something about not being Jewish. So it's like her family is like one of, I guess, some in this community that are invited to like every single one of these, which I know is not unheard of, but my understanding is that generally like the core group of people at a bar and bat mitzvah are part of like the Jewish community. And then like you might have other friends that get invited. But anyway, I thought that was interesting.
I have never been to a bar or bat mitzvah, so I couldn't tell you. But I grew up in Indiana where they pretend there are no Jews. So, you know,
weird.
that's,
Ooh.
That is
well,
very
I'm,
bizarre.
I'm,
What-
I'm joking, but
No, I know.
it's a
One thing I was
weird,
gonna
it's a
say
weird place.
One thing I was going to say, though, is that's interesting because, like, the girl who plays Maya, I think that's her name, his friend, I don't know if she's Jewish, but I know she's an Israeli actress. And I was also thinking about Lola, like, so yeah, Domino says she's not Jewish, but I'm wondering, like, do we know if Lola's not Jewish? Because her father might have been. Like, I'm just saying, like,
Yeah,
we don't-
maybe.
It's
we don't
complicated.
know. No, I
Yeah.
know, but I'm just saying, like, we don't know as an audience. So
Yes.
that's all. I'm just
True.
throwing it out there, just playing devil's
I
advocate.
also like, what was the character's name? Andrew's friend that you just mentioned? What was her
Macy.
character? Macy.
Macy.
I
I
like
think
how
Macy?
that they're they're old friends and they sleep together once, and he's like, "Want to do it again?" She's like, "Nah," and they're like, and then they just go back to being friends.
Right.
I think that's really great.
That was a funny exchange overall too, especially when he's like, everybody had a crush on you, and she's like, "Did you have a crush on me?" And he was like, "Yeah, but you had a lot of suitors, so I kind of figured I just didn't have a chance."
And then doesn't he ask her, like, "Did you have a crush on me?" And she's like, "No, but I did when you were dancing at the bar mitzvah."
Yeah. It was all quite funny.
Yeah. Just a lot of good characters in this movie.
I agree. It's just a delightful film and a heartbreaking film. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Closing thoughts on Cha-Cha Real Smooth, gang? I'm going to take that silence as a no. Okay.
That was mine. Just that it's heartbreaking and delightful and wonderful, and I loved every moment.
Down to the moment when at the end his brother comes in and his brother is really upset. And you're like, you thought maybe his girlfriend, Margaret, I think her name is Margaret, dumped him.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, "No, I'm really sad. I'm going to miss you if you move out." That's the moment the movie ends on. It's such a tender, sweet moment.
Tender is a good word for this movie.
Yeah. It really is. Yeah. Such a sweet film. Love it.
So, okay. Well then, gang, let's recap. I think we're all a yay on Halftime.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Which is currently on Netflix and probably will be forever because it's a Netflix movie. Good Luck to You, Leo Grande is on Hulu. And I think we would all say yay to that.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's the part where you both come in and say, "Yes, Dave, you are correct." We would say
yes, Dave.
Yes, enthusiastic yes, Dave.
And then I think we're all enthusiastically yes on Cha-Cha Real Smooth.
Yes.
1,000 times yes.
And
TV
that
Plus.
is going to be that is going to be on Apple TV Plus and in limited theatrical release.
Yes.
So I've only seen it on my 49-inch TV. So I would actually like to see it in a theater, but who knows if I'll get to.
That's a good point. Yeah. I've only seen it on my laptop twice.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the show. We want to say thank you to our editor, Otto Clamor. Thank you, editor. Good God, what's wrong with me? Thank you, Otto, for making us sound great every week. It really means a lot to us.
Thanks, Otto.
Thanks, Otto.
You can find Spoiler Piece Theater anywhere you get podcasts. You can find us at our website. I'm really starting to lose it. You can find us at our website, spoilerpiece.com. You can find us on social media, Spoiler Piece Theater on Facebook, at Spoiler Piece on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. If you would like to get in touch with us, please send us an email, spoilerpiece@gmail.com. Let us know that there's no reason to disagree with any of the things we said this week. Sorry. I'm just going to break that to you right now. But if you wanted to give us a call
at 862-21-PEACE.
If you wanted to give us a call, leave us a voicemail and tell us that you too cried your eyes out at the end of Cha-Cha Real Smooth, we would love to hear it.
We would.
Mm-hmm. If you like the show, please rate and review us by going to ratethispodcast.com/spoilerpiece. That really helps us out. And it really helps us out if you rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you really like the show, please consider joining our Patreon. I mentioned this before, but it bears repeating. This week's special audio segment is on Kiki's Delivery Servants. Somebody slap me. Kiki's Delivery Service. Studio Ghibli film. It was the winner of our poll this month, and we're going to have another poll in this week coming up for all of you, so get ready. And that, as they say, is that. My name is Dave Riedel. I write about movies. I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and if you want to follow me on the social medias, I'm at Dave Sees Movies on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd.
My name is Evan Crean, co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and co-author of your 80s Movie Guide to Better Living. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd as Real Recon, and that's real as in film reel.
And my name is Megan Kearns. I write film reviews for Edge Media Network. I, too, am a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association. You can follow me on Twitter at OpinionSWorld or on Instagram and Letterboxd at TheOpinionS.
And we'll see you next week, and I will be less mush-mouthed, I promise.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.